And now to introduce tonight's guest. Rob Kanter has made a career and a life of exploring the natural world and finding ways to share it with others. He teaches courses in environmental writing and issues at the University of Illinois in the School of Earth, Society, and Environment. And he's also done pieces for the Environmental Almanac, a program that's been published in the News Gazette and has aired as a radio commentary on NPR affiliates and as well as a podcast. Rob is also an accomplished photographer whose breathtaking nature photos inspire us to look more closely and to learn more about the birds, insects, amphibians, reptiles, and other natural life in our world. Rob has certainly seen the world's wonders in his travels to beautiful and exotic places. But what I truly love is his enthusiasm, his curiosity, and his deep appreciation for the natural life in our own central Illinois. He urges us to take time to look more closely, to ask more questions, to appreciate more deeply, and to protect this beautiful and beloved natural world around us. It's my real pleasure to welcome him this evening.
Thanks, Carol. That's the nicest introduction I've ever had. Are you sure this is about me? I'm just here to talk about birds.
Well deserved.
Thank you. No, that was really, really nice. I was going to say at the beginning, so if people are, first of all, I'm having a lot of trouble like seeing the names on the screen and just not saying hi to everybody I haven't seen for so long, because it's just killing me not to be able to socialize a little bit right now. Anyway, if people know me from Environmental Almanac, they know me from these 600-word articles in the News Gazette or the 3.5-minute commentaries on WILL. And in those things, because they're relatively limited, they're really that requires me to not go on and to have things polished and have transitions and know where I'm going to begin and know where I'm going to end and explain to people how I get there. What I have for this evening is nothing like that at all. When Carol and I talked, I said, look, it's going to be a crazy time in the semester, and I'm not really well suited to Zoom, but I can show pictures and talk about birds and birding as long as people want to hang around for that. So that's my plan this evening, is just to show pictures of birds and talk about birds and birding. And it's funny, I was, as Carol described me as a photographer, I'm thinking like, that just came about because when I started running, the first time I ran something in the News Gazette, they ran a file photo of a bird. It was a American woodcock with a piece, and I'm like, gosh, if they're going to run pictures with these things, I got to get a camera so I can just take some myself. I've always just thought of that as something I do, in addition to words. Of course, it's something I've grown to love as well. Anyway, so for this evening, I'm going to assume about the people who have logged in that there's a range of birders here, right? That there are people who have life lists and who travel the world to, for the specific purpose of seeing birds and have seen exotic things in exotic places. And I also hope that there are people who are new to the idea of birding, who might even not call themselves, think of themselves as birders. And so I'm going to do a little bit, I think, to address all of those constituencies. And I thought, instead of actually waiting till the end before I start showing pictures and gabbling on, because then I tend to go past time for this, I wanted to share with you just a few resources. And again, these will be well known to some people, but there'll be other people who have never seen them. And I think it's important, oh, back up, about the timing of this and why I'm anxious to share resources now. So when Carol and I first talked, I said, oh, I'd much rather do something in person, Carol. We'll just wait until you know, we get the go ahead, people have been vaccinated, whatever. We'll do this in the summer. And then we were talking and I realized, oh, wait, no, we could do this right in the middle of spring migration, which is much more useful to people. So that's why we're doing this now over Zoom instead of waiting until we can be together in person. And the reason I want to share resources now is because they're useful. We are this week, like just at the turning point where the spring, birding and for spring just really picks up. Between now and the third week of May are the best weeks of the year. There are no bad weeks of the year for birding. There's not a bad time to go birding, but these are the kind of the most exciting weeks of the year for people who become obsessed with birding. So I was going to share a couple of things that are relevant to that. One is Ebird. This is a citizen science program run by Cornell, the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. And what it is a system, a database where people, birders, just civilian birders, record the birds that they see and hear, and post them to this this site online. And here's what's cool about that. I mean, well, let me start here. So we'll go to my Ebird. So one of the things that does is allow you to track things for yourself. So I can look here and see where I was birding last. So I was birding last, or the last time I made a list was at the Mormon swine farm on the U of I campus. I don't know what you're seeing on my screen, but what I'm seeing is that my internet is slow. So we're not gonna, oh, there we go. And so that's what a list looks like there. And I didn't bother counting the Canada geese, and there were a couple of blue-winged teal, or 6 blue-winged teal, wood ducks, and these things on the pond, and these other birds around. So that list is kind of neat for me to have if there's, I just want to look back on what I've seen. And this also does numbers for you. So I've seen 109 species of birds, so far this year. I gotta say, I don't pay as much attention to that as some other people do. I'm relatively uncompetitive, not uncompetitive as a birder. I know people who were trying to get to 100 species before the end of January this year. That's not me, but anyway, so if you sign up, for Ebird, then you can track your own stuff this way. It's a way just of enjoying and being able to go back and enjoy things too. Oh, also, if you are a photographer, you can post pictures of your, to go along with your lists here. So like, I like to have pictures. These are from a week ago, Saturday, up near the Middle Fork River Forest Preserve in Northeast Champaign County. It was too crummy a day for anything else, so I sat in the car next to this flooded field and took pictures out of the passenger side of the car because the wind was coming from the driver's side, so I was able to sit there with the window open. Anyway, so you can keep your own list, but what's most useful, I think, for somebody who's new to birding or new to keeping track of things, or just interested in seeking out more things than that they're used to seeing already, is to go to the explore part on this website. And what you can do there is type in your region, and this is Champaign County is our area for purposes of Ebird, so there's not a separate Urbana thing. I think Champaign just does the county for us. And you can see recent sightings, but what's most useful here for me is to go to the part that says recent visits. And if you click on the more recent visits, you get this list of these are the checklists that people have done recently. So, and you'll see that some people are out birding every day. Some people post long lists. Some people post the 5 or 6 birds they saw in their yard. But if you're thinking about like, okay, where am I going to go see birds in spring migration? You take a look at this and you look to see where people are seeing birds. So Eric Freifogel was out at Yankee Ridge Pond and Woods. Because he lives in Yankee Ridge and is not worried about trespassing there, but he also encourages other people to bird the pond at Yankee Ridge. Anyway, and saw 37 species of birds. Aaron Tedesco was at Heritage Park and saw 25 species on the 19th. And you can just click on the list there and see what was there to see at Heritage Park on that day. So this is a really cool resource as far as I'm concerned. We formerly had a local listserv in Champaign, Urbana, the Bird Notes, and it still exists, but the young energetic birders just don't use it. So it's just us more mature birders who ever bother posting anything on that. So that's a resource number one is if you're looking for places to go, Ebird is a good way to know who's seeing what in the area. And just through that Explore tab and type in Champaign or type in Vermilion, and you'll get to the spots. And give yourself time to poke around there. Other good resource, of course, and most of you probably are already familiar with this, but the Champaign County Audubon Society has an energetic has always had energetic birders, and the kind of younger cohort has really kept things going now. So if you're interested, they in the Go Birding part there, they even have they do have a website that takes a long time to load. So they have an invitation to join Bird Notes, that's the listserv, and they have a list of popular spots. So including the public spots. Then I was looking for, oh, this is kind of nice, the whole thing, and a special note on mobility-friendly birding spots. What I was looking for was their walks, which are also listed on here. So they've last year they just suspended walks altogether. This year what they're doing is asking people to sign up first and limiting walks to 10 people. But anyway, you can click through from their website and if you're interested to sign up for a walk. And there you're going to, if you're a beginning birder or if you just want to be among other people, because if you're out with 10 people, you've got, your odds of seeing a small bird 50 feet up in the tree increase dramatically over if you're out by yourself, right? So if you want to get out with them, that's a good way to do that, is to sign up with one of those walks. And who knows, maybe by fall, walks will just be open again, and anybody who turns up on Sunday morning will be able to join that. So that's the second thing. Then for people who have the time, the inclination, I don't think you need a ton of prior expertise for this, but a willingness to learn and follow directions. I would encourage you to take a look at the bird window collision survey that's currently is running at the U of I. This started, I guess it was last year this started. This is a group that's trying to put together, that is putting together information about how many birds are injured or killed running into windows at the U of I during migration. And this is a effort that's going on in cities around the country, around the world. And, you know, the idea is to take this information and use it to get policy changed so that turning lights out a normal part of operating buildings, and doing other things that reduce the number of birds running into windows during migration. And this is kind of a grisly graphic here behind them, but this is the, you know, these are the bodies of birds that they picked up from around windows last year at the U of I during those surveys. And so this is another kind of citizen science where you just have a few people. You can see, let's see, it looks like they've been doing pretty well for volunteers. A lot of spots open in the week to come. Anyway, so Colin Dobson is the person who's coordinating this effort. He's also the current president of the Champaign County Audubon Society. He is the most, I don't want to insult anybody, but I think Colin is hands down the most active birder in the region right now. And I think he's maybe a second-year student at the U of I. Interesting character to spend some time with if you are available to volunteer for the Bird Strike survey. So that's what I got for those, and I realized I was going to drop them in the chat, but I forgot about that, and I'm not going to mess with it now because we can do that as a follow-up.
Hey, Rob, just before you leave that, there was a question in the chat where someone was just curious, can you search on Ebird by location, like what birds have been seen in Busey this week?
Oh, that's a great question. So you can't just plug in Busey, but if you go to the lists, you can see which ones were done for Busey. So
good, thank you.
Yeah, okay. I guess I don't need to go through that. Well, I'll do it real quick. So we go to recent visits, and then you can just go down the list. Here's a Busey Woods list. Oh, there are fewer than you would think. Everybody's going to Kaufman Lake. Anyway, this is where to find them. And we're only back to the 18th here. So yeah, there's just a lot of people posting a lot right now. So this is a really rich resource right now.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So that's those are my ideas for encouraging people to get out. Let's look at, so what I did for this for purposes of presentation is just put together, I didn't do this as a PowerPoint because if I show a PowerPoint, then I can't see anything else on my computer and I feel like I'm just talking to myself.
And Rob, you're not sharing your screen right now.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Please feel free to say anything.
Sure.
I'm used to having no
interference here. It's all good.
Yeah. No, I'm used to getting a lot of help from students with that. You know, I'll be just talking away and they'll be like, the people on the Zoom can't hear you. You know, I'll talk away and they're like, there's a question in the chat. I'm like, oh, I forgot the chat existed. So the screen I'm sharing now, so I post a lot of pictures on Facebook, and I realize I haven't been posting these to the Environmental Almanac site, but I swear I will do that. So if you want to see the pictures that I'm posting on Facebook, we don't even need to be friends on Facebook. I can just put them on the Environmental Almanac page. Anyway, this is, I keep kind of a highly disorganized collection of photos on Flickr, which is a photo hosting site. Every once in a while, I get some put into an album for one purpose or another. And if I can get this to click over. So I got a bunch of things here, but what I thought, since this is about spring birding, what I did was just go back and put into an album the pictures that I took at about this time last year, and it was kind of easy. And so this collection is, this reflects the fact that the pandemic started last March. Oh, and Carol said that about me going to exotic places. I've been to exactly 2 exotic places, but one of them is Costa Rica, where I teach a class that goes to Costa Rica over spring break most years. So a U of I class, and we were 7 days, 1 week from departure last March before we got the notice that no, we would not be flying to Costa Rica on the 17th. I think it was the 10th we learned that. But anyway, so last year, whereas normally I would love to be showing pictures taken in Costa Rica in March, I have pictures taken mostly in my backyard, but some from also around in town. And while we're on the topic of the pandemic and birding, I would point out that it is probably the most agreeable, most flexible kind of pursuit to combine with social distancing and doing in your own region, because you don't have to fly anywhere. You don't even have to drive anywhere. All you got to do is look out your window and you're birding, right? Or open the window and listen and you're birding. So it really, the pandemic keeps people from traveling to do birding, but it certainly doesn't hamper the activity itself. Other than you stand 6 feet apart from your friends rather than right next to them. Okay, so I'm going to stop random thoughts about the pandemic and birding and just talk about, so this is oh, no, I got to say also a word about birding is that I'm excited by all the birds. Like, so while I appreciate rarities, and I'm especially glad to see a black-throated blue warbler or something. I think part of this is from doing photography, is that I really just enjoy all of them. So as we click through, this is a Carolina wren. I think most people who look at birds at all would recognize this from being around the yard, maybe being around a suet feeder. If you feed birds, this is, aside from the fact that I just like them because they're here through the winter, I love the fact that they, as small as they are, can sing a song that, that you hear them at the end of the block. And I also like that they sing almost through the year. So, while you're waiting for other things to start happening in January, the Carolina wrens on a sunny day are out there singing away. So this is one, but the photograph's probably from March of last year. And this is a golden crown kinglet. Again, I think this is a photo taken at probably at Busey Woods. This is a bird that's not around all year long, but every once in a while. Anyway, this is a great time of year to see golden crown kinglet. They're around right now. I don't know. I was seeing them in the yard yesterday. Let's see. This is definitely Crystal Lake Park. So this is a bird that spends the winter with us, but generally we don't find them around here during the breeding season. So this is a brown creeper named kind of nicely for its color. It's brown, and for the fact that it creeps up trees. And this is a great bird behavior thing. It operates kind of like I think of it as a vertical, oh, this is an age thing, I guess, typewriter carriage, where it it goes up the tree that it's on, and it's gleaning there. It's poking around in the little crevices in the bark, looking for insects to eat. So you can see that little bill is designed just to get into those little crevices, and that's all it's going to eat is insects. But it starts at the bottom or low down on a tree, and it strictly goes up when it's creeping, and then when it gets as far up a tree as it's finding anything to eat, it flies down to start the next one from the bottom. So they're still around. More golden crown kinglet. Like I said, this is a loosely organized and not by any particular theme. This is an eastern Phoebe, which you may know the call from that. It's a flycatcher, one of the migrants that gets back relatively early, so sometime in the first couple of weeks of March normally. So these have been around for a few weeks. And birders distinguish them from a distance, even if you don't get a good look at it and you can't say whether it has a wing bar or, which would make it something else. It lifts its tail, when it lands, and if it's just perched somewhere, has a habit of lifting its tail. And fox sparrow, they're around right now. This is one that came through the backyard last year. I had a lot of, like most other people, I guess, a lot of time to get to know my what's outside the windows at home last year, and really kind of enjoyed that. Just being able to bird while I was on Zoom. So I was teaching on Zoom, and in fact, this little bird in the middle here, this is a winter wren, and like brown creeper, it's with us during the winter and then gone north during the breeding season normally. Last year was the first time I'd ever seen one of these in our yard, and I think this is because I did something right. So I made a fairly good sized stick pile at the back of our yard, which wrens like, last year. And so this little winter wren was around and hung around for a good week. So it was neat just to have it around. Oh, that's another part of birding, right? One part of birding is chasing after birds or actively seeking them. Another, I guess, way of embracing your inner birder is when you start figuring out ways to make them comfortable in outdoor spaces you control, whether that's a yard or whatever else. So yeah, I was happy about that. I first saw this guy when I was teaching a class, and I did actually put myself on pause. I said, look, students, I gotta go get a picture of this bird. I'll be right back. Because it happened by during a class. Here's another one that was in the yard last year, and one that you might notice around right now. I actually was out Saturday evening, and somebody I know said to me, Rob, I got to ask you about this bird. I saw this bird in my backyard the other day, and it was gray. And at first I thought it was a mourning dove, but then I looked, and it had this big honking bill, and it flew away, and I could see yellow, and I was like, oh, it's a perfect description of a northern flicker. So this is one that was in our yard last year. These also are insectivores. Unlike other woodpeckers, though, they spend most of their time looking for insects in or on the ground. This guy was hanging around for pretty long, probably more than a week, because we have these little ant mounds. I didn't plant the ant mounds in the backyard, but we do have these mounds of ants, and this bird just kind of sat on top of them, picking things out of it for a week. Oh, so that's another fun thing about birding is just, the community that develops around that. And as you get known, I'm everybody I work with, all my friends know me as the person who will talk about birds, uh, given half a chance, which I really enjoy. So, people will tell me that. And I think that works for other people too, that, um, somebody at work who I have, no common things, work things with, or anything else, that I just happen to see in the hallways, people will say, "Oh, wait, I have a bird question for you," or I, want to share a bird observation, and that's really, I think, one of the pleasures of birding too. Here's another one from the backyard that, again, I would not have seen if I weren't working from home. This is a yellow-bellied sap sucker, another woodpecker kind of bird that's, not like all the other ones, in that it drills holes in trees, partly for the sap, but also for the insects that attracts. And what I discovered last year, so we had a pair of them that hung around. These are coming through a migration, and we had a pair that hung around. And what's really cool about this is the relationship between the sapsucker and the other life of the yard. So the sapsucker made these giant, made these wounds in a couple of trees in the yard, and it benefits them, but then everything else was using them too. So the kinglets were there for insects. Other woodpeckers stopped by, nuthatches, even the squirrel was there, getting, having some of the sap that was running. So it's kind of an interesting opportunity to observe that I would never have had if I was just walking past and saying, "Oh, cool, yellow-bellied sapsucker." But, sitting looking out the window last March and April, I was able to really understand it in relationship to the other things that were around. And yeah. Oh, and this, for people of a certain age, you may remember, is the bird that Miss Jane Hathaway on the Beverly Hillbillies was always talking about, going to find. It really exists. Here's another thing I learned, just watching birds in the backyard last year. This is an eastern Phoebe, same, flycatcher like I showed before. And it's actually sitting, oh, I didn't show you where I'm sitting. Well, the room I'm in, I'm facing a sliding glass door. And so since I was working here last year, I realized that if I set up a perch close enough to the house, I might be able to take photographs from inside the house. And that turned out to be true. So this is a stick that I put up specifically so that birds would land on it and I could take pictures of it. I had to slide the door open, but pause to take pictures. It's eating a bee. This is a ground nesting, a solitary ground nesting bee. The common name for it is digger bee, also called polyester bee, because the females create a little tunnel to lay eggs in, and they excrete a plastic-like substance to line that tunnel with. So anyway, yeah, I had noticed the Phoebe hanging around. I had noticed this bird, Hermit thrush, hanging around. I was like, what are they doing? Because they're on the ground so much. And I realized, oh, because we have this patch. Oh, this is where, if they're, shoot, most people don't appreciate sedges very much, but the greenery here is not grass. It's a sedge, grass-like plant. This is called lawn sedge. And unlike regular grass that you would have in a lawn, which, grows as a carpet, this grows in clumps. And so there's these little bare patches in between the clumps, and the bare patches enable the digger bees to live in our yard, which is kind of exciting to me just because I think they're cool in and of themselves. But then even cooler than that is that the digger bees being there means that birds that eat digger bees are going to hang around. So the Phoebe again there. You've probably noticed turkey vultures around town uh, recently. I don't know. This is something that I haven't followed up on, but um, as far as I can tell, the populations of these have just exploded. We have them roosting in our neighborhood now, and they're just overhead all day long. I don't know what explains that. Waterfowl. This is a hooded merganser at Crystal Lake Park last year. I just, to me, the idea that you can go to Crystal Lake Park and see a creature that cool is just amazing. There's a ruby-crowned kinglet, close relative of the golden crown that was there before, and you can see it's called a ruby-crowned kinglet, but it's not very many angles give you a look at that little bit of ruby there. But there it is. That bird looks kind of angry at me.
Rob, these photos are incredible. I don't know if you're seeing the compliments in the chat, but
oh no, I always forget the chat exists.
yeah.
I'm gonna try
and,
to.
you know, somebody was just asking, like, kind of, when's your favorite time to go out? Do you have a favorite?
That would probably be a better question.
When don't you like to go?
Right. At this time of year, it's really bad. I mean, just I wake up thinking about birds, and I go to bed thinking about them, and yeah, whenever I'm not tied down, it's my favorite time to go out.
Wow. And are you as into bird songs and bird sounds?
Oh, absolutely. So, and this is, I think, something that I wish more people would free themselves to get into that. I mean, because I think of it as like learning language, and you think, like, if you lived in Paris and you were going to take a walk every morning, you would think, like, okay, even if you went there not knowing any French at all, you would want to pick some up just so that you could know what was going on around you, just to have some sense of that. And I just encourage people to think of bird sounds that way. That again, yeah, no, I can't explain it, but I find it, I want to know to be able to identify anything that any bird sound I hear when I go out. Not that I can, but actually I do most of them now. It gets more difficult in the spring, and it's just another way of really enjoyable way of engaging. And there are different ways people do that. I have especially a couple of younger friends who I've birded with a lot in recent years, who both, like, studied it. They went around listening to their various YouTube things and downloadable things that, learning to bird by ear. There's one that, oh, anyway, I won't. Anyway, and that certainly, gives you a leg up. It's difficult for me to learn that way. I always encourage people, go out and learn what a cardinal sounds like. They sing really loud. They sing throughout a lot of the day, and just allow yourself to enjoy the sound of cardinals singing for a while, and maybe then you add to that. If you learn a cardinal and then you learn what a house finch sounds like when it's singing, you'll know most of what you're hearing, when you take a walk right now. Those two birds are doing most of the vocalizing, and both of them are just cool. to hear. And if I was going to say something about birding, and I realized I didn't even say what birding was, which I guess is bad teaching, but this isn't supposed to be teaching. But I would have said, that birding to me is just exercising whatever perceptive faculties you have, to connect with the natural world through these through birds. And so if you can, you don't have to see them to know what birds are around, and you don't have to see them to enjoy them. I mean, you have every bit as much variety in sound as you do in the appearance of birds. Oh no! So my encouragement is for people, and I do the same in terms of watching birds. Is I always just start with like what's familiar, like just get to know the things that are around, because there are very few times in a day when you can't be birding, right? If you're inside and you've got a window to the outside, you can see what's out there. If you're standing waiting to get in somewhere, or waiting wherever outside, you can always just do a 360-degree turn around and see how many birds and how many different kinds of birds you can see. And if you don't know what one is, you get a book, and you learn to look it up. And if you don't want to get a book, you get an app on your phone. Oh, that's something I could have put in for resources, but that's another thing altogether. Is Cornell does a really good app for smartphones called Merlin, and it's free, and it helps you look them up. Okay, I'm going to make it so I can try to make it so I can see the chat, because I've just been talking way too much and I can't tell. I feel kind of like I'm talking to myself here.
No, it's great. It's great. And just looking at these photos and hearing your stories is perfect.
Well, should I flip? I still haven't managed to find the chat.
Yeah, no, show us a few more. Show us a few more.
Okay. All right. I'll just go through some more. So these are, Ruby Crown Kinglet at Busey Woods. And again, like people who are just ticking off how many things they see, that day, go by this and don't bother. But I stop. I always fall behind my birding friends because I'll stop to take a picture. This is a favorite at this time of year too. Brown Thrasher, they're around. They do the crazy, so they're mimics, and they just do the craziest series of things. Very enjoyable to listen to, and really fun to watch too. They are the most. This is Brown Thrasher, and they really just do thrash. They like. It's looking for insects and stuff on the ground, but it throws the leaves around as though its purpose really is to just throw leaves up in the air sometimes. Neat birds. This is a field sparrow posing in interesting light. Blue-gray gnatcatcher, these are just back. Again, for sound, they make a kind of wheezy call that you'll hear before you see them. This is probably shot at Busey Woods, and I'm fairly certain this is near where they nest too. So this nests in Busey Woods. This is this was on the promo. Northern Perula. It's one of the warblers, and this is what people birders get really wound up about are warblers, and during the spring we can see 30-ish some warblers as they come through. Some spend the winter either in southern tier states or central and some even South America. And yeah, just the most beautiful. I bet this is this day last year that I was seeing that. More brown creeper, more field sparrow. More Kinglet. Oh, this is backyard. Orange-crowned warbler. This is the one that it's like, of all the warblers, like they have these, vibrant yellows and blues and orange and other stuff. The orange-crowned warbler's got nothing. It's nondescript. I think the description of it is the nondescript warbler. It's like, it has no wing bar. It has no color you can see. It has a little bit of these, eye arcs that you can maybe identify it with, but it's just a very cool, very plain little bird.
Barb Meyer's asking, are the warblers here yet?
Yes.
Where's the place to see them?
Busey Woods and Crystal Lake Park, Heritage Park. These are, if you're not used to looking, I think it helps to these can take a lot of patience because they're looking for insects, so they move quickly and they're small, and sometimes they're up in the crowns of trees. Now and again, they're in lawns. I think Crystal Lake Park is kind of a mess right now because they've, been doing that renovation. But yeah, this is in the lawn at Crystal Lake Park right about this time last year. We're on the early side for warblers, so there are small numbers and a small number of species right now, but in the next 3 to 4, 3 weeks to 4 weeks is when these are most abundant and therefore, the easiest to see. This is one where it's like, yeah, if you're not used to looking for these, the Audubon walk can make a big difference. And this, I think this is maybe the best warbler photo I ever took. This is a black-throated green warbler. This is an oak tree, again, right in the middle of that lawn at Crystal Lake Park last year.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. Barn swallow. This is another candidate for a U of I bird with orange and blue. I think these guys are really neat. So these, this is right on the bridge at Crystal Lake Park. They nest up underneath it. That they paste a mud nest to a vertical wall. Oh, this is in my backyard. This is a Hermit. Swingson's thrush. There are 4 of these that look Catharis thrushes that all look pretty similar. And this is chasing a little bit. So I'd like to tell myself that I don't chase birds, that I just see the birds where I am. But this is one that I saw an alert for this last year, and I jumped up, and this was up off of North Prospect, just a little subdivision pond, and I jumped in the car and just drove straight there to photograph these because the sun was going down and I knew they might not be there the next day. And sure enough, they weren't there the next day. So this was the first time I'd ever seen these ducks in my life, black-bellied whistling ducks. Not a bird at all. Another Busey, but this is a Busey Woods creature that I found by rolling a log, a smallmouth salamander. This is on one of the perches I set up in the backyard. This is a bird that's a lot like the Phoebe, but this is a peewee, and one that says its name. So they breed in town, and once I don't think they're here yet. I haven't seen a report. They'll be here soon. But this is a bird that says its name. It says peewee, and you can hear that through the summer. It's kind of neat, but just for a sound, also, that's really such a summer sound. Okay.
Hey, Rob, quick side question. Someone's asking, what should they look for in purchasing binoculars, just as a beginning bird? What would you recommend?
I have 2 thoughts on that. One would be spend no less than $2,000 and buy the Swarovskis. And I'm totally kidding. Although if you can buy the Swarovskis, if you're a regular person, do a search at the site. It's a product testing site run by the New York Times. It's called Wirecutter. So wirecutter.com. And just search binoculars there. They do a really nice comparison of a range of binoculars, everything from the $2,000 ones to the $100 ones. And
this person was even specifically saying 8x42 or 10x4250. I don't know if you have a recommendation that direction.
Oh, both.
Yeah.
I only have 8x, because they are better for small birds relatively close. So, and I'm gonna stop sharing now just so I can see a little bit, because we've got to stop. Okay, just take a second. Everything is running slow on my computer. There.
I can tell we've got like some newish birders in the crowd who are asking, you know, where would you recommend going as a beginning birder around?
Yeah, hang out at Busey Woods and Crystal Lake Park or Heritage. So what you're looking for is, I mean, aside from wherever's closest, and you can just be outside, because the birds, you know, we live from a migrating bird perspective, we live in a forest. It happens to have houses in it, but you know, the birds that are coming through from Central America, they're seeing cornfield, 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 cornfield. Oh, forest, you know. There happen to be some houses under some of those trees, but they're everywhere. So yeah, wherever you can be outside, but some of the nice places are Busey Woods, Crystal Lake Park, Meadowbrook Park, Heritage Park. And you get, the more variety you have in habitat, the more variety of birds you'll see, you know. So if you're in the woods, you'll see woodland birds. If you're in, you know, near the lake, you'll see some waterfowl maybe too. You know, if you're near a marsh, you'll see some extra birds there.
Somebody else is asking about the camera you use.
Yeah, the ones that are taken here that I've been showing are a Canon 100 to 400 millimeter zoom lens. So the lens is more important really than the camera right now, just because you got to have it. It takes at least a 400 millimeter telephoto to really photograph birds. There is no way around that. Where, you know, most of the time I say, well, the equipment doesn't matter that much, but if you don't have, you know, 400 millimeter telephoto, you just can't do that much with birds.
Can I ask a question that's like, this is probably the most basic thing I should know already, but
no, wait, before you even ask, that's a terrible thing about birding too, is that people think they should know stuff already, and who cares? Well, you know, it's like, you have to be able to be wrong about stuff, and especially with bird ID, just to be able to say, well, here's what I'm seeing. But, you know, allow yourself. So anyway.
Nice. Okay. In the summer, you see these enormous hordes of crows that are all gathering. What's that about?
They roost communally, so as defense, you know, so that they're all together at night. Is that what you mean?
No. Well, for example, it'll be evening in downtown Champaign.
Yeah.
And I'll see like 100 crows, and I'll stand there and watch, and another wave of 100 crows will come in, and I'll see in the distance more and more are coming in, and I just wonder what they're up to.
So they're out feeding in agricultural places during the day, and then come into town to roost communally at night for safety. I mean, just that numbers enables them, and that's why downtown Champaign's such a mess. So where they roost, yeah.
Anybody else want to throw any questions in the chat? Please feel free, or if you want to. I'm curious, Rob, were you a birder as a young kid? Did you love birds already as a young kid?
Uh, I mean, we were forced outdoors. So me and my siblings, my brother and sister, were spent a lot of time in the woods behind our parents' house in suburban Cincinnati, but didn't know particularly. Actually, the birding is because of my brother, who's I'm very close with. He's 18 months younger than me, and he started when he was an undergraduate. So he's a wildlife biologist and started birding as an undergraduate. So I didn't, ever own a pair of binoculars till I was a graduate student in English. and yeah.
And could you tell a little about what you've done to make your yard an inviting place for a variety of birds?
Oh, sure. One is the stick pile. I see Barbara Meyer's going to make a stick pile. Stick piles are great for all kinds of stuff. Other is not to kill everything in your yard. So, if you kill insects, you're killing bird food. If you cultivate insects, you're cultivating bird food. So some of that's easy. We moved into a house where, the trees have been allowed to grow up around the perimeter in a way that no landscape architect would ever tell you to do. And I didn't realize how great it was going to be when we bought the house, but it's like, oh my God, we have hackberry trees and walnut trees and stuff. That helps for migrating birds because they're eating the caterpillars that come out in the tops of those trees as the migrants are coming through. But then layers, so you have an overstory if you can, but that's a longer project than most of us. It's like, okay, I'll go plant an oak tree, and 25 years from now, somebody will have good birding here. But shrubs, native shrubs are also, so you have the next step down, wherever you can plant a mass of native shrubs or use them as a hedge or something. I have spice bush and a number of other ones, yeah. American blatternut. So, and if you want to look for native shrubs, there are places online, or check out the master naturalists who do a shrub sale every year, and you can buy them for a good price and spend the first couple of weeks of October planting shrubs around your yard. And those are also good for caterpillars that if you like spice, like swallowtail butterflies and those other things. And then, just right down to the ground layer of things. If you have sun, plant prairie things. If you have shade, plant native woodland plants.
And someone's asking, do you have bird feeders?
I do, but I've never been a committed bird feeder, and this year when I finally got things set up so that the squirrels couldn't get at it and started putting out food regularly, we have 6 hens, and they think of the feeder as theirs. So we don't get a lot of, we just got 4 of those last year, and having the hens means that I don't think we're going to have any birds hanging around on the ground this spring because they chase everything off, including the squirrels. But I have feeders out. I have a suet feeder for, and that does bring woodpeckers and nuthatches, and the finch socks for, to bring the finches in to see them.
At next year's presentation, we'll just see a lot of photos of hens.
Yeah, they don't count. I was thinking in my definition of birding, it's wild birds, and the hens don't count as wild birds.
Somebody says, what about water for the backyard?
I aspire to putting water out because it's really helpful, and a friend who lives a couple blocks over and who posts to bird notes all the time posts pictures of birds at the bird bath in her backyard. But again, it's just my tendency to rush off somewhere else rather than work on that in the yard, but I aspire to that. I aspire to a heated bird bath so that even during the winter, birds would be able to come find water in the yard. Maybe with a solar fountain thing that you can put in them. So I've given it thought. I haven't gotten around to it. It's good to have. So the native plants, the shrubs, the lower stuff, the trees. So you have cover, you have food and water. Yeah.
Nice, nice. I want to just invite anybody, if you've got any final questions, I think we'll wrap up pretty soon. Rob, this is just so awesome. The best thing about it is it makes me just want to get out and look around and listen more and just really look and see and be more curious.
Cool. Well, that's always my hope. So I'm glad to hear it.
During COVID, I downloaded the Audubon app onto my phone. And it's been fun for me to just identify birds, and then you can play their song and make sure that you're identifying the right song. And that's also been super fun for me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, a big thank you to you, and big thanks to everybody for coming to this evening's program. Thank you so much, everybody.
I was happy to be here. I appreciate the opportunity, Carol.
Thank you so much, Rob.
All right. And